Okay, so we're back. So it's 10:45. So we're moving on to the next area. So we're looking at Power BI and dashboards, right? Power BI Online dashboard. So let's take a look at that really quick. Let's talk about. I'll send you also. There's a question about the survey. I will be posting the survey link there on the Q&A. It's pretty quick here. Let's go to Power BI overview. All right, so let's take a look at that. So what is Power BI? So basically Power BI is a set of services, applications and connectors that we can leverage to be able to use to build data visualizations and do data analysis, right? It's a way to actually grab that data and now use that data and visualize it in such a way that it conveys a message, right? It tells us what's going on, tells us what's happening, right? But the components that we need to use to do this is we need to use the Power BI desktop to be able to author the visualization, the reports, right? So that gives you the full capabilities of editing and creating a solution. And then we have the online SaaS service, which is basically where you publish, right? Once you author a report, you want to be able to publish it as a dashboard to your company or to your team, right? And then there is that that online Power BI solution where you can actually publish it and host it, and people can go and browse it, right? And also, in addition to that, once it's made available on the online service, you can actually install applications for your devices, right? Again, Android, iOS, what have you, and you can actually take a look at this dashboard, right? So these are the three main applications that actually build the system, right? And the whole idea, purpose behind this is that you can actually do your data analysis process and data visualization process and share this information with the users. Notice here that there is a Power BI mobile application, right? And that's a standalone app that you can actually use and install on your device, and you can actually look at your dashboards, right? I want you to kind of keep track of that a little bit, because there's a difference between having a Power BI mobile app that only consumes dashboards, right? As opposed to what we're going to be building. We're going to be building a PowerApps solution that's going to have an embedded Power BI dashboard. So we won't be using the Power BI mobile app, but we'll be using the PowerApps mobile app to load this solution and be able to look at this dashboard. So when you hear me talk about the mobile layout as opposed to the web layout, that's the difference here, that the mobile layout is only applicable when we're using the Power BI mobile app, right? It won't be applicable when we're using a dashboard that's loaded on a PowerApps solution. Okay. So let's take a look at that. So the goal here for us is to now say, hey, we want to be able to look at our data. Now that we added a few records, we want to be able to see this and look at our data and see what's happening behind the scenes. Okay, so let's do that. Let's go ahead and switch here and bring up now. The first thing I want to do here is I want to know what the website URL is. If you remember, I repeated a couple of times. Please track this URL. Right, that's the site URL. That's important there, because that's really where when we load Power BI, we want to be able to tell Power BI, hey, connect to this URL, right? And that's where my list will be. All right. So let's open up Power BI desktop. I sent you the download link. And the download link, then you can actually install this. Don't worry if you haven't installed it, follow along. Okay, and then you can have the run book, and the run book will also tell you the things you got to do. All right. So what we want to do is we actually want to be able to get data, right? That's the first step. So get data is, it tells you basically where to get the data from, right? So it tells you, hey, what are the connectors here? Or you can actually go and open up a more advanced dialogue that enables you to kind of look for more. So what we're looking for here is we're looking for SharePoint. And we're looking for SharePoint Online list, all right? And there's the SharePoint list and the SharePoint Online list. They're basically the same, but the SharePoint Online list has new features, right? But this is really where we want to connect. So we want to connect to that. And then this is going to ask us to set up the site URL, right? And of course, it's going to ask you to log in if you're not logged on yet. And it's going to ask you for your credentials, right? For your tenant credentials. And you can actually say, okay, here. And what it's going to do, it's going to go and call this SharePoint site, and it's going to query the metadata for it. And it's going to start asking, okay, what's available for me to consume here, right? And it's going to return all the stuff that's available for us to consume. Of course, we say data list, right? And data list is what it got back. So this went through the whole API call, and it went and it queried that site URL, and it said, hey, return me everything content type equals data list, so to speak, right? And it just created this list. So for us, we're looking for the product log, right? And we're gonna preview the data that's available. And you can see one of the things that's not happening here is that it's not taking, there is no way for us to tell it to use our optimized view. So you're just bringing back everything. As you can see, there's tons of data there that we do not need, right? So we just need a few items. We just need, for example, we need maybe the ID, perhaps the title, definitely, the task date. Those are the areas we want. So we want to be able to load this data and transform this data. And this is key, right? Transformation services is sort of a key for data engineering reasons. So what happens here is there's so much data here. Imagine you had gigs of data here. We don't need all these extra columns, right? We want to kind of clean that up a little bit. So what you can do is you can say transform data first, right? This will take you to the data modeling transformation services for this view. And at this point, this is really where you want to do your homework as far as data engineering and modeling is concerned, and be able to clean up things that you may not need, or the data types. So for example, the data types may be incorrect. So as opposed to a date, maybe a string, as opposed to a number, maybe a string, and you want to make them accurately the data type you want. So to start with, we can actually just come here and select these IDs and remove them, right? You can press, you can select and say delete, and that would remove the fields we don't need, right? We don't need the modify and create fields. We just really need title, task date, and the area. That's all we really need. So everything else here, we don't want. Okay. So you can delete all that. So now our data model looks a lot simpler, right? Just very, very, that's all we want. The task date, the ID, the title, that's really all we really need. But we really want to make sure that this data types are accurate too, right? So we want to be able to look at this. So if you see title is ABC, so data type is text, so that's accurate, right? Task date, okay, so task date is kind of date, you see that? Okay, we have to correct that. So ID is 1, 2, 3. Okay, ABC. So okay, so we're gonna save and apply this, and I'll show you guys now the data is gonna be loading. Right. Right. So now you will be able to see the product log here. Let me blow this up a little bit. You will see the fields here on the right. right? And you will see here, so what you have in front of you really is the page here, which is the visuals, right? You have the visualization area where you actually can pick visualizations, pie charts, line charts, filters, cards, all the visualizations, even R or Python visualizations that you can actually implement from scratch and add to this gallery. What we can see here is we can see area, ID, task date. And we talked about task date, and we actually saw that task date was set to a date. And that's not what we want, because what's going to happen if it's set to a date when we do date calculations, so we want to be able to fetch the date name or things like that, that will not work. Right. So what we want to be able to do here is change that. So if you look at the column tools, we can change the data type to date. Right. And we know it's just a date. So we're okay now. So what we want to do now is just basically let's create a simple visualization. Let's create a donut, right? And the way this works is I just clicked on the donut and I dragged it there, and it's there, right? And what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to measure here area by area. I want to do this by area. So I'm going to go ahead and grab area and drop it into the legend, right? So it's going to give me area. And I have the legend already here. So, but now I need to pick up a measure. So I'm going to go ahead and take the ID and make that a measure here. So it will be a value right there. And what I want to do is I want to do count of, right? Count of. So this is be count of items by area. So that's really what that's going to do, right? So at this point, we're looking at the chart and we can actually see the numbers and percentage. And of course, you can customize all of this. So for example, count of maybe is not what we want. We want to call this a total by area. Right? And we can customize that and look at the, not the fields tab, but look at the format tab. And we have other settings there that we can actually customize. So for example, title, we have the title there. And we have total by area, right? And we can correct that and make this a little bigger if we need to. Right, let's say 18, it's a good set. And let's give it a little bit of background color to separate it. So what I'm showing you here is something that I'm just basically saying you can customize this to look whichever way you want, right? So now we have that. So now we can actually see through visualizations task by day. But let's say we want to also create some kind of total counts because we want to be able to just use a card to actually visualize the total count. So we can actually look at cards here, click on that. Okay, so let me undo that. So make sure to unselect that chart because if you have it selected and you click on that, you will replace it. So make sure you go to an empty area, say card. All right, let's put it at the top and let's customize this. Runbook tells you what sizes to use and all that stuff, okay, to be able to customize this. And what we want to be able to do here in this visualization, we want to be able to say, okay, let me go ahead and say the total. What is the total count here? So what we can do is we want to let's look at this ID, select that, right? But we don't want ID 1. What we want is we don't want first. If you look at the fields, we don't want it first. It's assuming that we want first, but we don't. What we want is count of ID, and we have 7 items, right? So this is the count of ID, and perhaps count of ID is not very meaningful. We can just rename that to totals. Right. All right, so that's cool. So now we can easily see that we have 7 items, right? But what if we want to do other cards? Because the cards are very, very important to be able for us to see and to see totals right off the bat, right? Because that's what people look at, big numbers, and they say, okay, I see. And this is going to help my capacity planning because I can do the following things. So what we can do here is let's just create another design change here, and let's go ahead and enable the borders, right? And give them that color, and I think that's good. So now we can see the space for that car, okay? And you can customize that whichever way to match the theme of your company, right? So now we can say, okay, well, let's go ahead and and create a total by area. Let's say a car by area. So the easy way to do that is you can duplicate this. You know, you can copy this visual, paste it. Let's put it here. And let's say we want to do this one. We want to do it based on architecture. Let's do it by area, right? So let me see everything that's architecture. So we know it's a total count. We don't want that, right? So we know it's a total count. We want to do this by area, which is architecture. The architecture, and what we want to be able to do here is know that we only want to read the total for architecture. So the way to do that is you can grab this area and drop it as a filter here, right? And it will tell you that you just want to pick that architecture filter, and it gives you the total by architecture right off the bat. And we can repeat the same process for the other cards, right? That's one way. Another way is that you can actually go here and you can actually add measures that will give you totals by architecture, but that will require a little bit more work, but you could do that. And we'll do some measures for other purposes. I'm showing you the easy way, and then we can do more advanced way. So we can actually go ahead and copy this and duplicate it again now. And now this one, we want to be able to rename it. Let's do design. And we want to be able to do design, right? And now we know that we have 3 design tasks. Let's do one more because we have 3. Let's pick up front end now. And the same way, right? So as easy as that, of course, this is the easy way. There is more advanced ways depending on what the data looks like. Okay, and let's go ahead and make sure that the filter is front end. Okay. So this started to look good. We have this here. We have totals. Okay. So how about something more, a little bit more complicated, right? That's very easy. Let's take a look at how many tasks we have by day. So for that, we go back to visualization. And we click on stack bar. All right, so we're gonna add the stack bar here. Right. And what we want to be able to do here is we want to be able to see how many tasks are allocated by, perhaps we want to do this by day, right? Okay, so the way to do that is we can actually now say, okay, I want the access to be my area, right? I'm sorry, I want my access to be task day. Because we want this by day, right? But if you notice, we want this by day name, not by the actual day itself. So if you take a look at this, this dimension has year, quarter, month, day. But this day is a number. This is a number field, right? So we don't want that. What we want is we want Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So to do that, we need to extend this dimension and not that, right? So a quick way to do that is that you can create a another column, right? And this is really like if you do data you will see that there's an effort to do dimensions that have all this type of information, dates, months, quarters, all this type of details, so you're able to do the visualizations this way. But for this case, what we want to do is we want to be able to get the day name. So we want is the day day name, right? Day name on this, day of week of day name, let's say. So here what we do is we use, so this is where we actually start doing some implementation. We can actually do an expression and format, right? And format the values here. So we know is product log is the field, is the table name, so to speak, right? And we know we're looking for task date. That's really what we're looking at, right? And then we have some of this information here. But what we want to do is we want to format this in such a way that gives us the dates and fields. So this is more like what we will do on like Excel or something like that, right? This is very similar to how we'll do Excel, things like that. So here we can do that now, right? And we save. So now this gives us this the ability now to drag this date name and put it into, if we highlight the visualization, put it into our access, right? And into the legend. And now we will have the names here, but then we need to have a measure, right? We need to measure something. So we want the values to be added there. And now we know we know that that we have the dates here and we have the count of it, but of course it's not meaningful enough. The dates are out of order. How do we do that? Okay, so you can also sort of sort this ascending or descending, but of course the main day is a text, and as you know, text fields go alphabetically, and for dates that's not the way we want to go. We want to go with Monday, Tuesday, whenever, whatever. So we need to actually sort by another field, right? So we need to actually use either create another column here or leverage something that already exists. So we can, for example, we can actually use for tooltips, we can use the day, right? But not the count of day, but actually the item. The actual, actually, let me remove that because that's part of that. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna create another column and we're gonna call it date number. The day number really is going to be another expression that we're going to actually query the weekday for the product log day with a sequence of 1, which is Sunday through Saturday. So we want our weekends to be Sunday through Saturday with a numeric field, right? So we do that. All right, so we create that, and now we can actually grab that day number and add it to our visualization here. As a tooltip, and now when we sort, we can sort by the day number. So now we can have, and as you see, it's in a descending order. We want that by ascending order, and now we have Monday, Wednesday. Okay, so now we can change this too to make it more meaningful, right? Because we don't really know. We see the bars, but we don't know the name. We can actually go and customize this chart and look at the legend, right? Legend is on. You can see the title. You can see the data labels, the total labels. So you can actually look at the data labels and enable them, and you can see them being added there. And you can actually, the position could be at the end, right? Inside in, inside center, whichever it is that you think is good for you. And also another thing here is we can customize this these titles here. For example, count of ID, this could actually be totaled by day. Right? And you can kind of see that by day, right? So the whole chart title here can be customized. Similar to how we did the other one, right? So totals by day. And do the same thing, change the font to 18. Okay. and the background to the same thing, and we have it there, and it's okay, and we have that there, and this is the visualization we have. So okay, so we have it. So we have it total by day. So as you can see, we created columns, we can create measures, we can create formulas to enable our visualization and easily create something that is more meaningful. Now, I want to take a little bit of a shortcut here, because when we start building our Power Apps, we want to integrate this dashboard into it, but this dashboard is too heavy, it's too big. So we're going to rename this tab to Web. Okay. Because we're going to clone it, we're going to make a copy of it, right? And we're going to rename this Mobile, right? And as I indicated before, there is the concept of creating a mobile layout, but that only works if you're using the Power BI app. But in our case, we're using the Power Apps. So we're going to create a layout that's different, that when we publish it, it will be useful for a smaller form factor. Okay, so for this mobile, I'm gonna delete the totals by day. And I'm gonna just create another report here that is just smaller in size, right? And if it's gonna fit nicely for our visualization, right? So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna select everything here, and I'm gonna go ahead and center everything. And that way, when we start doing our report, when we start loading this into the app, it would just look very, very nice, right? And we can actually create and insert a rectangle here, text box, and to add a title to it, right? So we can create a label or text box, and this is product, let's call it product summary. And we kind of just, this will be basically our dashboard title, right? And we can go to the shadow visualization. So, okay. So here we can actually make it 24. And we can actually just make it a little bit bigger and play with it, you know, and publish it. So now we have this really quick, right? And we can put borders and things like that. So let me go ahead and add the border here. And that makes it like that. And let me go ahead and do a background. In the background, let's make it a little bit similar to what we did before, and we have this. So something like that, okay? So we're gonna save it. You can customize it the way you want, and we're gonna call it product log. Save that, because we are ready to publish this, right? So what we wanna do now is we wanna go to the home tab and publish this. So if you remember, I said that this was a desktop, right? So only I can see it for this point. But we want to publish this to the online Power BI site, and that's what we're gonna do. All right. So as you can see, this is even though it's very simple, there's a lot of steps to do, and the design takes a little bit of while to do, but we're making good progress. I think we'll show you the online area and how to publish a dashboard, and we're ready to go. Okay. So while that's loading, so basically what it's doing right now is trying to find the site to publish it, and it's so it connected to my site, my tenant, and it's asking me, hey, which destination? I want to do it I want to select my workspace because my bootcamp right now is sort of private. So, and we're gonna select that, and of course, it's gonna actually go ahead and do grab that file and publish it to the online site. So it's gonna use that name of product log, and it's gonna say successful. Say got it. I'm gonna go ahead and go back to my SharePoint site, And on my SharePoint site, I want to be able to look at the application menu and load my Power BI on a different tab. So while that's loading, you want to be able to go to your workspace, my workspace, right? And look at the reports. And in the reports, you will see there's a product log, which is what we just uploaded. And click on it. And that's basically the report we just loaded. So we see we have tabs, web, and mobile. Right? So what we're going to do is add this as a dashboard. So right now it's just really a report. To be able to make it available to other people and to share it to apps, we need to pin it to a dashboard. So we're going to click on pin to dashboard, and we're going to use the mobile version to do that. And we're going to say add to a new dashboard, and we're going to call it product log, right? Pin live. And then what that's doing is actually creating a dashboard, online dashboard that you can actually share. And you will notice that it actually gave me ability to create a mobile layout, right? So if I go to dashboards here, product log, you will see that's a product log. And it says that I could create a web view or a phone view, right? In this case, we're not going to use the phone device, but if you were to use it, you can say yes and do changes to the layout for the phone layout for the phone device, right? For now, we're going to stay with the web view because that's what we want to consume on the PowerApps app, because that's really what the control will enable us to do. All right, so at this point, this is really what I wanted to show you for Power BI. You can, I hope you were following along. I think it took me a little longer than expected. So we do have a few more minutes. Please just go ahead and go through it. Take a look at the services. Try to do whatever dashboard you can do, and publish it to online. That's very important because this is what we're going to be able to use for our PowerApps app, which is the next step. All right, I'll take a 5-minute break. I'll be right back, and I'll be looking at Q&A. Okay, thank you.